Hello, you absolute legends. I feel like I know my audience pretty well, and I know that we all love Logan Paul here. We respect him. He's a very honorable man, and we understand that he would never, ever scam anyone or lie for money. But can you believe it? There are people out there that think this beautiful soul has scammed his fans many times for millions of dollars. And not only that, but he always seems to play the victim when he gets called out.
And I know what you're thinking. What type of idiot would work with an unsavory individual like Zach Kelling? I guess that's what I get for trusting the team that I relied on to vet and manage Eddie's hiring process.
Recently, a YouTuber by the name of Carl Jobst, who is definitely not me, put out a video saying that Logan Paul's liquid marketplace venture was a scam and is currently being charged by the Ontario Securities Commission for multi-layered fraud. But of course, as we all know, Logan Paul has nothing to do with that because his name doesn't appear in the complaint. So for all of you out there wagging your little fingers at Logan, calling him a scammer because the company he founded committed fraud, how dare you? In any case, last month, Logan Paul sold his famous Pikachu Illustrator Pokemon card for $16.5 million, which is the most expensive card ever sold. This, of course, is tangentially related to Liquid Marketplace, given that Logan told his fans they could co-own the card with him. But then he bought the card back without their consent, and the poor suckers who thought they owned the card made exactly $0. Well, technically they probably lost money due to inflation and the opportunity cost of having their money stored in an asset that gave no returns, but who really cares about these minor details? But here's what's really interesting to me. While everyone else is up in arms about the fact that Logan sold the card and made millions and millions of dollars after falsely claiming that the Liquid Marketplace community co-owned it, in my opinion, there is a much worse atrocity that just took place that no one seemed to notice. And when you find out what this atrocity is, it will blow your mind. This rabbit hole goes deep. So buckle up, because I'm about to blow the lid off one of the biggest conspiracies in the history of the world. Now, legends, I come to you once again to spread a very important message. Just because we are nerds, that does not mean we need to build our own PCs. Now, don't get me wrong, I love PCs, but I'm just never going to build one. So if you're like me and you want to get that PC that you know will make you so happy, but you don't want to build it, you need to get one from today's sponsor, Starforge Systems. Starforge Systems are genuinely incredible. They offer the best pre-built PCs at all different price points, so if you go into it with a certain budget, you know you're going to get the best bang for buck. Starforge PCs not only look amazing, but they run very smoothly. Plus, they are very reliable. I am still using the same computer they sent to me 2 years ago to create content and run this YouTube channel. They shipped it halfway around the world to Australia. It arrived in pristine condition, required no setup, and still works perfectly to this very day. Plus, now they offer extremely cool custom keyboards and a whole host of custom accessories that all look like they were made by and for passionate gamers. I really can't recommend Starforge Systems enough. The link to the website is in the description. Go and check out their PCs and accessories today. Before we get into Logan Paul's auction, which was definitely not a shit show, I want to quickly draw attention to the fact that Logan recently threatened to sue the YouTube channel Rattle Pokemon for a video he released discussing Logan's newest venture, Rip It. Rattle read the entire cease and desist letter in a video he uploaded, so if you want a lesson in stupidity, definitely go and check it out. And just so no one's confused here, I'm calling the letter stupid, not Rattle. Personally, I have no idea what Rip It even is. I haven't looked into it, I don't care about it, and it just looks really stupid like all of Logan's other projects, so I'm not going to bother investigating it unless shit hits the fan. But after reading the cease and desist letter that Logan sent to Rattle, I was left a bit befuddled, because from what I can see, Logan's lawyer lays out either the dumbest or most brilliant defense I've ever seen. Please allow me to play a clip from Rattle's video.
You also rely heavily on the Ontario Securities Commission, the OSC proceedings involving Liquid Marketplace to attack Mr. Paul. Those proceedings, however, have nothing to do with our client. Mr. Paul is not a party in the OSC proceedings, and neither the OSC nor any other law enforcement agency has ever accused Mr. Paul of wrongdoing of any kind in connection with the company.
So apparently, the reason people can't say Logan scammed people through Liquid Marketplace is because he wasn't named in the Ontario Securities Commission's complaint. But this argument seems nonsensical to me, and I will explain why. Here is what the OSC complaint said. LMP, Bahadori, and Nickdell have perpetrated a fraud on investors. LMP, Bahadori, and Nickdell made false and misleading statements to token purchasers, including that LMP tokens represent legal ownership in underlying collectibles. You see those three letters LMP? That is short for Liquid Marketplace. The complaint is saying that LMP committed fraud by making false and misleading statements. And one of those misleading statements is that LMP tokens represent legal ownership. So the OSC is very clearly outlining which action they consider to be the fraud. The next question is, did Logan Paul do this action? Well, let's take a look.
As a co-founder of Liquid Marketplace, I believe we're set to level the playing field by allowing anyone to own a piece of the world's rarest collectibles.
We have the most elusive, top-tier, rarest assets in the world for the entire world to co-own.
So this was a very hard decision to make, but yes, I will be listing this card on a platform that I co-founded called Liquid Marketplace. It allows co-ownership of top-tier assets. So instead of one person, me owning this card, we as a collective can co-own it together.
Explain Liquid Marketplace.
Liquid Marketplace. Okay. What it is fractional ownership.
Yes, Logan Paul made false and misleading statements that LMP tokens represented legal ownership. So we have Logan Paul doing the thing that the OSC calls fraud many times on video, which we can all rewatch at our leisure. And Logan's big 250 IQ defense is, well, his name isn't specifically outlined in the complaint. And to be fair, that's true. Logan Paul isn't named in the complaint. The complaint only names 3 individuals, and they are listed because according to company filings, they were the only 3 directors. So those 3 people were the ones that had real control over the company. However, Logan's company, the one he co-founded, is also listed. And not only did Logan co-found LMP, but he publicly said it was his company. So given these facts, I think any reasonable person from the public without insider knowledge would come away with the understanding that Logan scammed people. He created a company, said it was his company. That same company is currently on the receiving end of legal action for committing fraud. And not only that, Logan said the exact same fraudulent statements that the other people named on the complaint said. So no, I do not accept the argument that just because his name isn't in the complaint that he is innocent and didn't commit fraud. However, it also absolutely needs to be stressed that this does not mean Logan Paul is guilty in the criminal sense of fraud, because fraud requires intent. Maybe Logan was just paid money or given interest in the company to market it in a certain way, and he didn't check with a lawyer to see if it were true. And maybe he didn't do his due diligence and make sure the company was being run as he said it was. As I mentioned, I checked the company filings and Logan was not an officer, so we have no idea exactly how involved he was in running the company. So we can't say as a fact that Logan intentionally scammed people through Liquid Marketplace. Though we still have to be honest, it looks really bad. Especially seeing as this came just after Logan's CryptoZoo venture, where there is still a class action lawsuit against him, and they are alleging that he intentionally committed fraud. So with all of that being said, in my humble opinion, it is pretty disgusting to threaten to try to ruin the life of Rattle Pokemon over something like this. Especially when Rattle's video only had around 8,000 views. And the reason I can say try to ruin his life is because, as you all know, I've personally been on the receiving end of a defamation lawsuit, start to finish, trial and all. So I know exactly what effect it has on you and your family. It can, and often does, ruin lives. So for Logan Paul, who is egregiously rich, to do this to a relatively small YouTuber making what I believe to be reasonable claims is so vile that I really don't think people dislike Logan Paul quite enough. But anyways, let's move on to this auction. Going into it, I wasn't even sure that Logan's card would sell for more than its original price of $5 million. I mean, from my perspective, Logan clearly bought the card to promote his new platform Liquid Marketplace, and he obviously bought it at such a high price so that it would generate headlines and draw media attention to LMP, which it did. But boy, was I wrong. And really, it's not surprising that I was wrong, because I have absolutely no idea about Pokemon cards. When it comes to Pokemon, I am utterly oblivious. But I did know straight away that this was no ordinary auction, because almost immediately, Logan began promoting his brand new platform, Rip It.
Please chant "Rip It" with everyone in the room before you open this pack. Rip It is a new collectible platform co-founded by Logan Paul.
It's the exact same play over and over and over again. These auctions, these sales, they are all just promotional puff pieces that rich people use to peddle whatever new scheme they've decided to hatch to draw in more money from the masses. And this auction is the worst example I've ever seen. Logan Paul and Golden Auctions makes Wada Games and Heritage Auctions look like total amateurs. When Logan's card did eventually sell for $16 million, I didn't understand what was going on. I couldn't even. I mean, I was literally shaking. My 5-year-old son, who had just heard the news, came up to me and said, "Daddy, why did some moron pay $16 million for a Pokemon card?" And I couldn't give him an answer. I felt like a total failure. But then, in an instant, like the sun suddenly shining through parting clouds, it all became crystal clear. It all made perfect sense, because that moron, the one who purchased Logan's card, was in the audience. And after he won, he came up on stage to make a speech. And that speech was just a plug for his website and Instagram page.
Oh, yes. Bro, that is so epic.
The treasure hunter.
The treasure hunter.
If you want to learn more about it,
Yes, I do.
go to treasuretrove.com
I'm so intrigued.
and follow.
I'm
At
so
Treasure Trove on
intrigued.
Instagram.
Oh, of course. How could I possibly forget that thing I said before? You know, that thing about how these sales are just overpriced promotional tools for stupid ventures? And this guy seems really stupid. He even admitted that he had no idea what was happening.
I don't even understand what's happening right now, but it's surreal, dude.
Bro,
Surreal.
God bless you.
But I gotta give credit where credit is due. This guy has a mean backbend. Check this out.
My God.
I agree, dude.
You're a gangster. You are fearless, bro.
Holy shit, I have to watch this again in slow motion. Bam! This takes 110% commitment. So many things could have gone wrong here. If your angle is off by a quarter of an inch, you're gonna end up in Snap City. If I tried to replicate this, I swear I would be confined to a wheelchair for the next 6 months. In any case, you can't get to $16 million in an auction by yourself. You need at least one other bidder to bid against, called the underbidder. And wow, wouldn't you know it, the underbidder was also at the auction.
Bro, that's crazy. That's crazy.
And wow, also wouldn't you know it, it wasn't just him bidding on the card. It was his friends at Pokecolor, the largest trading card auction house in China.
It's not just us. Also our friends at Pokecolor.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Plus, that same guy was also there earlier, advertising his own collectibles company.
Okay, ready? Grade 10 is Asia's leading collectible powerhouse, backed by Meme Strategy, a company listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Grade 10 is building a comprehensive collectibles ecosystem in Asia, including world-class festivals, museum-grade vaulting,
So what are the odds that the two people bidding on Logan's card were both in the audience and had businesses to advertise when they won? This is totally organic. And it wasn't just Logan's Pokemon card that went crazy. They also sold some video games at the auction, and the prices these games sold for make absolutely no sense. For example, earlier in the night, a Perfect 10 Pokemon Silver for the Game Boy Color sold for $19,000. This is actually not that unreasonable. Last year on Heritage Auctions, a 9.8 A++ sold for almost $14,000. so the premium for this one being a one-of-a-kind perfect 10 is to be expected. But what's really bizarre is that there was another Pokemon Silver at the same auction selling for a lesser grade, this time a 9.8 A++, and that version sold for $50,000. What? A lesser quality version of the exact same game sold for 2.5 times the price. That is just plain stupid. And there was also a Pokemon Red for the Game Boy that sold for $124,000, which is also a lot, especially because this was the latest print of the game. If you know about collecting video games, you'll know that there are different prints, and the earlier the print, the more valuable the collectible. So because this was the last print, it was the least valuable version, but still sold for $124,000. To put this into perspective, last year in August of 2025, an earlier print of the same game in the same quality sold for $31,000. So someone bought a less valuable print for 4 times the price. There is no reasonable explanation for this. But then, guess what we found out later?
As my illustrator was selling, I was secretly bidding on like a bunch of stuff in the golden auction, and it's arriving right now. Pokemon Silver graded 9.8, and then this is the big boy, Pokemon Red 9.8, one of the best-selling Pokemon games of all time.
Oh, so that's why they were sold for stupid prices, because Logan Paul bought them himself. This becomes all the more interesting given that Logan received a 4% cut of everything sold at that auction.
If the buyer's premium was 24%, 15% of that went to me, plus an additional 4% of the entirety of the auction.
Okay.
Don't worry guys, this is totally not a conflict of interest. So if Logan wins an item in that auction, he gets 4% back. But if he bids on an item himself and pushes the value up and then loses, he still wins because he gets 4% of the difference, given that it would have sold for less if he wasn't bidding at all. So literally, no matter what Logan did, he wins. The fact that Logan received a cut of the auction he was bidding in himself is pretty stupid. And it's also pretty stupid that he bought a bunch of items at way higher prices than they're actually worth. But believe it or not, this isn't the scam that I was talking about in the title of this video. It's finally time to unveil Logan's biggest scam yet. In 2022, Logan Paul received a Guinness World Record for buying the world's most expensive Pokemon card. The record states, the most expensive Pokemon trading card sold at a private sale is a PSA 10 Pikachu illustrated card which was purchased by Logan Paul for $5.275 million on July 22, 2021. Let's put aside the fact that this record is just pay to win. Logan didn't do anything special, and he just gets a record because he is rich and spent a lot of money on a piece of cardboard. At the end of the day, it's silly, it's stupid, and no one really cares. Naturally, given that Logan Paul got the Guinness World Record for buying the card, you'd expect the next record, if this one were to ever be beaten, would go to the buyer. After all, it's the buyer that puts in the money and does the thing. But what's crazy is that after Logan's card sold at the recent auction, Guinness World Records were already on hand to award Logan another record, this time for selling the card.
On behalf of Guinness World Records, I can now confirm you have achieved a new record title for not only for the most expensive Pokemon card ever sold at auction, but also the overall record for the most expensive trading card ever sold at auction.
Oh my God, bro.
Congratulations. You are officially amazing.
Oh my God, no way. Yes, yes, yes.
Excuse me? You can't get the record for buying and then selling the exact same card. Guinness has to be consistent here. Is it the buyer or the seller that gets the record? Apparently Logan is so greedy, he wants both. So when he's buying the card, he gets the record. And when he's selling the card, he also gets the record. Forget Dink Doink, forget CryptoZoo, forget Liquid Marketplace. This is officially the worst scam Logan Paul has ever pulled. How on earth can you get the record for buying and then selling the exact same card? That makes no sense. What about this guy? He spent $16 million just to get completely shafted. He deserves the award, not Logan Paul. I mean, honestly, he really deserves 2 awards, one for buying the card and one for the most glorious backbend of all time. Honestly, I felt so sorry for this Nepo baby that spent his dad's money on the most expensive card ever bought that I've even set up a change.org petition. We need to let Guinness know that they can't get away with this. This is a moral injustice. And just another crazy technicality is that Logan Paul didn't even sell the card. Technically, it was sold by Golden Auctions. How can the card both be sold at an auction and be sold by Logan Paul at the same time? This is a conspiracy, man. This is one big giant conspiracy. And it's sad because I really respected Guinness World Records. Up until this point, they had a spotless record. But now I'm just starting to think that maybe, just maybe, Guinness World Records aren't that trustworthy. So please sign my petition. The link will be in the description. We need to let the world know that Logan Paul can't get away with this. And we need to get this rich guy who obviously does yoga his Guinness World Record. So with that being said, thanks for watching, you legends. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.